Hey guys, welcome back to Off the Cuff. Just a very quick one today, because I don't have a lot of time. But I saw this and I just had to comment on it. Kind of worrying. So we have an article by, I think this is by NBC. Yeah, NBC News. So NBC News says a sobbing Kyle Rittenhouse already won, even before his trial is over. If convicted, he'll become a right-wing martyr. If he's freed, it's a message to others like him that prison won't be in their future. And I believe the thumbnail title was something along the lines of "A sobbing Kyle Rittenhouse is everything that's wrong with America today." For anyone that hasn't been watching, Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't know where you've been. Self-defense case. 3 rioters attacked him. He defended himself with his gun. The police knew they were going to be there and armed him and his. There was like 9 other guys defending a local business that they've been asked to defend. It's the most open and shut case of self-defense I have ever seen, and I cannot believe that a country like America. So some of the things that people have been saying, it blows my mind. I saw a tweet where some guy was like, "So this kid gets an illegal gun, travels across state lines with the intent to murders 3 people." And then Chads are like, "He's innocent, y'all." What? That's nothing like what happened, you freaking weirdo. It blows my mind, man. Okay, so by Isaac Bailey, no doubt someone with a lot of white guilt. Professor of public policy at Davidson College and author of Why Didn't We Riot? A Black Man in Trumpland. Kyle Rittenhouse, in an unusual move for a defendant, took the witness stand Wednesday. He cried. His defense team then made a motion for a mistrial with prejudice, which means Rittenhouse couldn't be retried. But whatever the court rules... But whatever the court rules, he has already won. He's charged with reckless homicide, intentional homicide, and attempted intentional homicide for shooting 3 people, killing 2 of them, who were protesting the police shooting of yet another black man, Jacob Blake. This is a man that raped a woman and then tried to drive off with her kids in possibly a stolen car. And then when the police were trying to stop him, as the mother of the children was screaming for them to help, he pulled out a knife. They shot him. Anyway, so that was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, on the border of Illinois. The protest followed George Floyd-inspired ones that erupted across the world, calling for police accountability and justice for black lives. White allies, like the ones Rittenhouse shot? I'm sorry, are they actually white allies? I mean, Rittenhouse was defending an Indian immigrant-owned car lot, but, were among the protesters. Rittenhouse has pleaded not guilty. Of course he has, because he's massively not guilty. If Rittenhouse is convicted, he will likely stop being a right-wing mascot and become a right-wing martyr. If he isn't convicted, he will set a precedent for others like him to pick up guns they shouldn't have and thrust themselves into the middle of unrest they should avoid, confident in knowing that prison won't be in their future. So what I take from this is that they're saying that, if you're not with us, then you shouldn't be anywhere near your town that we're going to burn down in the name of our completely untrue ideology. To his supporters, and even many of his detractors, Rittenhouse isn't a monster. He isn't a monster. He's like a salt-of-the-earth, blue-collar kid, clearly well-trained, lifeguard. I mean, the kid looks like he's probably on the spectrum of, autism or Asperger's, or whatever they're calling it these days, Asperger's. He is probably the furthest thing from a monster that exists. Not really. He was a young, dumb kid hyped on the foxification or Fox News effect of American discourse on the Black Lives Matter movement in a country that fetishizes guns. I don't think America fetishizes them. I think they understand how incredibly lucky they are to be one of the few countries left on Earth where you can actually still fairly easily attain a gun and use it for self-defense, or just use it for sport. For show, for sport, and for killing. Not a white supremacist like, say, Dylan Roof. Not really. What does that mean? How the frick is he a white supremacist? He wore no hoods and didn't wrap himself in the Confederate flag. Correct. He's a patriot who tried to bring calm to chaos which is correct. Well, yeah, I mean, he was trying to help people. He was putting out fires. He was preventing other people's deaths and injury. He was also acting as like a medic. As Fox News primetime host Tucker Carlson told us at the time of the shooting, the adults around him wouldn't maintain order. He was so non-violent that police officers greeted him and those like him like fellow guardians of the community before he killed anyone. Yeah, because they knew that. What? He didn't open fire until absolutely necessary, correct? It was self-defense. His supporters have told us outside the courtroom, and his lawyers have argued inside the courtroom, had criminals, who many of us prefer to call Rittenhouse victims, though the judge said they can't be called that during the trial, not rushed him, had not provoked him, they would be alive and he would never have been charged. None of his decisions before the moments he pulled the trigger seemed to matter. He defended himself and that's all. Yeah, they're clearly obviously quoting Tucker there, Tucker Carlson. I mean, look at his red, tear-stained face on the stand. So compelling that the judge stopped the trial for 10 minutes to allow Rittenhouse to compose himself. His tears tell the story. Those protesters made him shoot them. It was their fault, and only theirs, not Rittenhouse's. He was trying to do good, to protect this dying nation, and that's the same nonsense claim people have been using throughout the US. Predominantly white voters were trying to defend their freedom, so they flocked to an open bigot like Donald. How is he an open bigot? Like, I feel like sometimes maybe some people in America, it can be quite an insular nation. I've been there a few times. My dad worked there. I've been there. It can be kind of insular, and I understand that. Like, if you are like the wealthiest, most powerful nation, and you're a very large, diverse nation, there's not a lot of reason to need to be leaving the US. And I just think that some people, they get so kind of stuck in these little, I guess at the moment, culture war, that they actually think that that's everything, and it's not. So from someone I'm a pretty average, normal, middle of the ground person, it's blatantly obvious that Kyle Rittenhouse is not guilty. And it's also obvious that people like this are, I don't want to say evil, but really bad people. And I'm talking about the writer of this article. Angry parents, most of them white, are storming school board meetings, demanding an end to critical race theory lessons, as they should do, to protect white children from feeling guilt. I don't think it's that, but if it is that, that's exactly what they should be doing. Why should white children feel guilt? Why should working class white children, for example, feel guilt? I don't understand their way of thinking. Where are we? Protect white children feeling guilt about America's violent racist history and how it has created. But they didn't do it. They're children born hundreds of years after the fact. And how it has created the foundation of inequity we see today. Ooh, careful with those words. Politicians and local officials, again, many of them white, have stoked this by framing the teaching of race and books that explore its context as something constituents should defend their communities from. Yeah, but these people that are defending them, these people that are not wanting this stuff taught, and they want all of this kind of concentration on race to be gone from schools, many of them are not white. They're just good people that want their children to grow up happy and healthy and not with a massive race chip on their shoulder. And that goes for any of the races. The truth is that too many white Americans probably see themselves in Rittenhouse, afraid of anyone, whether white or of colour, who wants to live in a more equitable country. That's the most ridiculous thing I've read so far. Even if some don't want to say it out loud. It's ridiculous. So many things have pointed to their being scared, as Rittenhouse was described to have been during the protest and in the aftermath of the shooting. Frightened of losing their country, their hard-working, salt-of-the-earth parents and grandparents built. I don't think that's like the case at all. Of becoming a minority among minorities. Well, they're not going to become a minority, not in their lifetime. Of being displaced as the de facto correct way to be a real patriotic American. Okay, of being able to define just what that means. But it wasn't just fear that convinced Rittenhouse that he had a right, a responsibility even, to take a gun into the middle of unrest that didn't directly affect him. And it did directly affect him. That was his town. His friends worked there. It was an entitlement as well. An entitlement to make and uphold the rules. To make America great again. Or maybe he just wanted to not have burning, looting, and rioting in his town. Rittenhouse's story is a microcosm of what America is facing. A perilous journey toward becoming something the world has never known. A fully functioning, multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy emerging from the blood of slaves, the genocide of Native Americans, and the notion that all men are created equal. Well, no matter what you've heard or what you've been told, we aren't there yet. We weren't there on July 4th, 1776. We weren't there in 1865 in the smoke and ashes of the Civil War, and not even in the wake of the Civil Rights Act. Yeah, but nobody thinks we were. Wow. You can see my video on the 3 different peer-reviewed journals coming out of even left-wing universities stating that America and various countries in Europe and even some South American countries are the least racist countries on the planet by an absolute, a massive margin as well. Now, obviously, they wouldn't put that stuff out, but you can still, like I say, I've got the links, you can still see it. They even published it on places like Washington Post, but obviously this was before Trump, before this stuff all kind of became really incendiary. If he has freed the status quo of America's flawed criminal justice system, in which white offenders are less likely to be convicted, can remain just a little bit longer. The inevitable merely delayed, if not denied. If he is imprisoned, those sympathetic to his plight have even more reason to use him as an example of how their way of life could be threatened if they don't fight, and hard. His supporters have basically guaranteed those outcomes. This is why, regardless of the verdict, in this case and others that are forcing the nation to grapple with what it means to be black and white in America, it's up to the rest of us to guarantee different outcomes. We need to make sure the disparity in who is afforded life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is honestly and continually discussed, regardless of how uncomfortable it is for people to confront the truth and to see it and see to it that those tenets of American democracy are extended to those who have historically been left out. So what they're saying is we should be presumably the sort of woke left, should be the arbiters of who gets life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They want to be the arbiters of who gets that, of who gets those tenets. Like, terrifying and also absurd. If you care about saving this democracy from the Kyle Rittenhouses of the world, you shouldn't look to a judge and a jury. Jesus! I hadn't read this before I did this. Because a guilty or not guilty verdict in a lone case can't fix what ails us. Okay, so pointing to a little bit of vigilantism at the end, which I believe is what they disliked about Kyle's situation. These people are insane. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish,